Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
So something I've not really talked about on YouTube is my love of horror movies. It's my favourite genre. I love especially like slasher movies from like the 80s, the 90s. You know, Halloween, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Child's Play, like I love all them. And I'd never really read any horror books. I also really enjoy documentaries about like the horror genre as a whole, you know what I mean? Like the history, the early movies. So I decided that this month I was going to dedicate a whole month to reading just horror books, since it's something I never tried. And the first one I read was Jekyll. Obviously everyone knows the Hitchcock movie. It's probably one of the most famous horror movies ever. And everyone knows the shower scene and like Norman Bates, Bates Motel. Everyone knows about these things. In my head I kind of thought I knew what this book was about, but it proved me completely wrong. It was so good, it was so shocking. The ending had such a good twist that I just genuinely, I don't know how in all the years that movie's been out I've never known about like the ending or seen any spoilers, but it was so good. I would definitely reread this. The characters are all gripping, like it's definitely tense. Out of all the books I read this month, it's probably actually one of the more horror ones, because although these are all horror books, you know, I like classics, so they're not actually scary for the most part. But this was definitely so good. I loved this book. Second one I read was a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I really like Alice in Wonderland. It's one of my favourite books. And this follows Alice when she's in a psychiatric ward, which isn't even the most original concept. You know, there's been a lot of things like that, but Alice in Wonderland being about mental illness, being about drugs. But I thought, you know, it sounds like an interesting concept. It's one of my favourite books, so I'll read this. And I'm gonna say I didn't love this book. So, first of all, other than the names, it's nothing to do with Alice in Wonderland. It's not even a retelling. Like, if you changed the names, you would never even think it's anything to do with it. And also, I'm not someone that's like triggered by things, or, you know what I mean? There's people walking behind me. But this book had a lot of sexual abuse and sexual assault, and although obviously it's like a dark adult retelling, I always feel like there's more things, there's more ways you can go with that, rather than just, I don't know, rape. Like, it was constant in this book, just happening over and over again. It was constantly being brought up. I feel like there's a lot of different ways you can explore like adult themes without that being the most important one. So I really didn't like this book that much. I did, look at him behind me. I did think some of the things were creative. There's a whole bit about like the caterpillar and butterflies, and I thought that stuff was kind of creative, but a lot of it I just didn't enjoy. There's a sequel to that, and I might pick up in the future, but I don't know, because no libraries have it, and it's not like I bought this one, I wish I hadn't, so I'm not going to go out and buy the sequel. So the third book I bought was a very, very famous classic, and that's Frankenstein. And everything you know about Frankenstein and like the popular culture isn't in this book, pretty much. Like, the idea of Frankenstein has been changed around so much. For a start, everyone calls the monster Frankenstein. It's not. Frankenstein as the doctor. But this book, I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the way it was written. It flowed so nicely. I don't know what it was about it, but every sentence, every paragraph just flowed into the next one so nicely. It was really pleasant to read. And the monster, so Frankenstein's monster, we think of him as, you know, big, green, stupid, doesn't really talk. In this, he is so smart. He teaches himself how to talk and everything, and the only reason he can't get on with society is because of his like hideous looks, which is really sad. And then it definitely gets into the horror territory. Frankenstein's monster is a monster, let's say that. So I really enjoyed this book, and I think I will reread it at some point because I really enjoyed it. Next, I've never actually read any Stephen King books, but I really wanted to read one this month because obviously he's like master of horror literature. So I read The Shining, which is another one where I've never actually seen the movie, but I've seen so many iconic scenes, you know. And what was surprising is a lot of the things from the movie, like the most iconic ones, for example, here's Johnny, you know, at the door, the elevators of blood, like that doesn't happen in the book, but I did still really enjoy this. And at first, I've never read any Stephen King, so I don't know what his writing's always like, but at first I found the characters kind of unnatural. I didn't like the way they spoke, but after a while I kind of got used to it. Probably about 100 pages in, like I didn't notice it anymore. And if you don't know, it's about a caretaker who moves in with his family to the Overlook Hotel, and they're going to be stuck there all winter. They can't escape, like the snow is so deep, and the little boy has like telepathic powers called The Shining. And then things start going wrong, you know, they uncover that the hotel has a lot of horror in its past, and things just start going crazy, and the family start going crazy. I definitely really enjoyed this book. It was quite long. It's about, let's see, yeah, it's just under 500 pages, so it took me a while to get through, and it's like quite dense, but I really did enjoy it. The characters are great again, and it's very, I think it's quite realistic. Obviously ghosts and stuff aren't realistic, but as realistic as it can be, and the descent into like madness of the family I thought was portrayed really well. And the last book I read this month was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde, another classic. I actually wanted to read Dracula as well. I had those three bought together, but I never got into it. So this also had some short stories, but I never got to them. Like I just got so busy at the end of the month. And this book is actually set in Edinburgh, which is surprising. I didn't think it was Scottish, but Robert Louis Stevenson is Scottish, so that was interesting. And this book is about a professor who does some sort of experiment or mixes medications and stuff and becomes a different person. So he goes from becoming Dr. Jekyll to becoming Mr Hyde, and Mr Hyde is not a nice person. He's ugly inside and out, and things start to go wrong from there. I don't want to say too much more. I really enjoyed this. It's quite short until the very last chapter. The very last chapter, it wraps everything up. I'm trying to think. It's like a report. It's like everything you've read and you've kind of worked out for yourself. At the last chapter they say, okay, we're just going to explain everything so straightforward. I didn't really like that. I kind of liked just, you know, putting clues together in your head, like, oh, this is what happened to him, and I felt like the ending kind of ruined that a little bit. But overall, it was still really good, and it's quite short, so I probably would reread that again. And I really want to read the other short stories in this, because they're only like 25 pages long, some of them, but I just got so busy at the end of the month because I had an exam and stuff like that, and you know what life's like. So that was all the books I read this month. I wanted to read Dracula, and I also wanted to read Pet Sematary because obviously the movie was coming out, but I didn't have Pet Sematary at the time, so I started reading The Shining, and then Shining took a while to get through, so then I didn't want to read another Stephen King straight back to back, but I'm definitely going to read Pet Sematary in May probably. And Dracula, I don't know when I'll get into it, but it's on my TBR anyway. So yeah, 5 books this month. Quite thick, some of them. And pretty much enjoyed all of them apart from Alice. I didn't not enjoy Alice, it just wasn't great, you know what I mean? It wasn't what I thought it would be. My expectations were probably too high. Also, I looked up the author, Christina Hendry, and it seems like all of her books are kind of like retellings. Like she's got a Peter Pan one, she's got like a Little Mermaid one, and on Goodreads they all had quite good reviews, but I don't know. But then you also had the reviews where like, this is trying too hard to be gritty, so I would kind of go into that category of people that just thought it was trying too hard. But anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what books you've been reading, and comment, like, subscribe, you know what it's like, usual stuff, follow Instagram, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.